Hi there and welcome to your CARS daily morning routine. CARS are the most potent training stimulus that you can add to your daily lives. Done consistently and you will reap the benefits. Joint strength, joint health, longevity, mitigation against injuries, and overall improvement in movement potential. Before we start, let's go over a few basic principles. Number one, you're going to be moving one joint at a time whilst keeping the rest of your body still in space. You will perform the CARS slow and with control. CARS are an active circular type movement through your full, greatest pain-free range of motion. You will utilize a concept that we call irradiation, and this is a co-contraction of your entire body, and this is going to help create internal body tension. Doing this will stabilize the joint during the movement, it'll slow the movement down, and it'll also load the tissues that are not moving and the tissues that are. So, feel free to pause this video if you would like to do more reps or you would like to hear the instructions again. Okay, we're going to start with our legs just hip distance apart. And the air around you just got about 40% denser. So like a medium of honey or molasses. You're going to imagine that you're a car and you're stuck at 1 kilometre per hour. So you're not going to speed up, you're not going to slow down, you're going to keep that cadence the same. Okay, we're going to start with the cervical spine car or neck car. From your collarbones down, you are stuck in cement. And you're not going to move anything from those collarbones down. The only thing moving is going to be your cervical spine and your head. Take a deep breath in. Start to irradiate about 30% of your overall effort. And you're going to start to segmentally bring the chin down towards the collarbones, towards the chest. And once you've maxed that out, you're going to scrape the chin along the right set of collarbones, looking past your right shoulder. You'll pull the ear behind the right shoulder, and then you'll circle the chin up into spinal extension. Rotate on that axis. The left ear pulls down behind the shoulder. You'll look past your shoulder, find your collarbones, and then bring it back to center. We do a second set. We bring the chin along the right set of collarbones, looking past that right shoulder as much as you can. Pull the right ear behind the right shoulder. Circle the chin up into cervical extension. Rotate on that axis. Left ear pulls behind. Rotate to look past your left shoulder. Find the collarbones and bring yourself back to center. One more rep. We rotate the neck. We side bend. We circle into extension. Rotate. We side bend again, we rotate again, and then we bring it back to flexion. And then one vertebrae at a time, you stack the cervical spine with the head popping up last. Now let's go towards that left. Take that deep breath in, find that irradiation if you've lost it, and then start to flex. One vertebrae at a time, bringing chin to chest. We now scrape the chin along the left set of collarbones, looking past the shoulder. pulling the ear behind the shoulder, circling the chin up into extension. We rotate on that axis. We pull the right ear behind. Here's the tricky bit. We've got to rotate again to find those collarbones. And then we return all the way back to center. 2 more reps. We rotate, making sure the body stays still. We side bend. We circle into extension, making sure we don't pop the ribs. We rotate. And as we go to the right, we make sure the left shoulder doesn't hike. And then we return back to center one last time. Rotate, keeping that irradiation in the body, making it smooth and as full range of motion as you can. Stack that cervical spine, 1 vertebrae at a time, and the head pops up last. Okay, we're going to work the thoracic spine, and I like to take my legs a little wider, and from your pelvis down, you are now stuck in cement. So we're really trying to avoid any movement of the pelvis, forward or back, or rotating. We're going to crisscross the arms, cross the chest, and I like to wrap my hands around my shoulders. And we'll take that deep breath in. Exhale, we'll radiate. And now start to drop the chin to chest, and then start to segment 1 vertebrae at a time, that upper spine. You're rounding and curling. You're trying to pull your elbows in towards your belly. And when you can't go anymore, you'll pause. Rotate to that right. Side bend to that right. Extend 1 vertebrae at a time into extension. You'll rotate on that axis. You'll side bend. And then you'll pull back down into flexion to rotate back. We spiral the spine. Get maximum rotation. The right shoulder pulls behind the right heel. 1 vertebrae at a time, you come into thoracic extension. You rotate on that axis. You pull the left shoulder behind the left heel. And now it's that right elbow pulls down to the left big toe to get you back into flexion, and then rotate to the start. 1 more rep. Squeeze out, hit your end, fight for a little more. Side bend. Circling into extension. Rotate. Left shoulder pulls down. Right elbow pulls down. And then wrap yourself back to center. And then stack 1 vertebrae at a time with that head popping up last. Let's do the left side. Take a deep breath in. Nod the chin and start to round. I like to imagine a candy cane. So you're really trying to curl that upper spine only. Once you can't go anymore, let's rotate to that left. The left shoulder pulls behind the left heel. From the middle spine, you extend and circle back. Rotate on that axis. Right shoulder pulls down to the right heel. Now it's that left elbow pulling down to that big toe, and then you wrap yourself back to center. Again, rotate. Side bend. Circling into extension. rotate on that axis, side bend, rotate, flexion, and bring yourself back to center. One last rep. Keep irradiating, keep squeezing everything in your body, trying to smooth out these transitions, keeping the pelvis still. And return that spine nice and tall. Fantastic. We're going to move on and we're going to look at the shoulders and we're going to do them one at a time, so unilateral. And we're going to start with that right. Now, you're literally carving out your glenohumeral joint and your right arm, and this is what you're going to move. So the rest of your body is trying to stay still in space. I like to wrap my arm around my rib cage to give me feedback, because we want to avoid any popping of the rib cage or any extension of the spine. I like to start with a neutral, so my palm will stay in, and you can make a fist or you can spread the fingers, but pick one and stay with one. Take a deep breath in. You're going to externally rotate the arm, the glenohumeral joint, and then you're going to cross the midline. You're going to take the arm up by the ear or the cheek, wherever you can, into shoulder flexion. Before you move, I want you to think about internally rotating as you circle and rotate behind you. Keep rotating, so much so that your knuckles will eventually face the outside of your thigh. You extend and reach back, and then you'll unravel and trace the same way you came, thinking about external rotation. The arm will eventually return back by the ear, and then you're continually trying to get more external rotation as you cross that midline, and then bring the arm back, and then return neutral. Imagine there's an X or a line on your bicep. That X is going to rotate and face out. And as you cross that midline, the X and bicep is going to face up to the ceiling. That X and bicep is going to reach by the ear. And now that X is going to rotate inwards, and you keep rotating as you circle out, keep rotating, circle back, keep rotating, and then find your knuckles by your thigh. You'll reach back into shoulder extension, and now that X and bicep is going to circle and round back and reaching all the way behind you so that it's back almost towards the ear. And then you keep finding external rotation. The bicep is facing front now, and then you'll return back by your side. One more time. We externally rotate as much as we can from that shoulder joint. We cross that midline, adduction. We reach the arm up to the sky, shoulder flexion. We internally rotate as we start to abduct the arm, circling, finding extension, And reaching the knuckles back by your hips. Extend back, externally rotate, start to unravel, tracing the path that you came from. And bring it all the way back in and then down by your thigh. Good job. Let's move to that left and just acknowledge that you might have different ranges of motion on your left and right, and just go to where you can, pain-free. All right, we've got that X, we've got that bicep, that arm wrapping around the rib cage. Find that irradiation, taking that deep breath in, and start to find the contraction. And now let's externally rotate, spiraling that bicep out. Cross that midline, bicep faces the ceiling. Bring it up, bicep faces inwards. You start to internally rotate, that bicep spirals out. You focus on internally rotating as you circle back, nothing moves in your spine, nothing moves with your head. And let's extend back, really reach until you got no more. Start to externally rotate, travel, keep focusing on external rotation, and you'll cross that midline, and then you'll reach the arm back by your side. 2 more. Externally rotate. Really try to smooth out these transitions, minimizing any spine or rib cage here. Try to move from the top of the shoulder, not from the wrist or the elbow. Circling behind. See how far you can stretch behind. Keep that internal rotation and extend back. Externally rotate now. Travel up all the way to that ear. Try to get more external rotation as you cross that midline, and then bring the arm back by your hip and neutral. Excellent. So we're going to look at scapulars, and I like to have my arms reaching forward, and this is a good time to note that there's many different ways that you can do your CARs in many different positions, and I'm just picking a set for you to work on today. I like to make a fist and really draw your attention back to those shoulder blades, those scapulars. Keep your elbows locked as best as you can, and you're trying not to drop up or down. There will be a forward and back motion, but there's not a massive drop in this scapular car. So you're going to take a deep breath in, irradiate, and you're going to drive those knuckles forward like you're punching forward. You're going to pull the shoulder blades up to the ears, and then you're going to retract and squeeze those shoulder blades back, and like you're pulling them down in an imaginary pocket, you depress. We punch forward to protract. We rise up to elevate. We squeeze back to retract, and then we pull down to depress. Reach forward, protract, elevate, retract, squeeze back, and depress and pull down. Find a neutral. We reverse. We retract now, squeezing back to the spine. We elevate up to the ears. We push and punch forward, and then we slide down. Retract for 2. Elevate, protract, punch forward, depress. One more time for 3. And up and forward and down. Good job. Okay, so we're going to look at elbows now. And your job is to keep the elbow pits facing forward. And you're trying to not let the arms deviate away from the body. So they're staying pretty still and close. The palms are facing forward, and you're going to squeeze those fingers together. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Find that irradiation. And imagine you're holding 50-kilo dumbbells. And then you're going to bicep curl, and you're really pushing that thick, dense air up. And then once you get to the top, from that forearm, from that elbow, you're going to rotate so that the palms will face forward. And then you're going to push that imaginary thick air down, controlling all the way. We're going to rotate again. This is supination. And then we're going to bicep curl up. We're going to rotate, palms face forward, pronation, and then we push that thick air down. One more in this direction, rotate, really trying to keep the pits of the arm, of the elbow still. Pull up, pronate, spiral, and then push that thick air down. Now keep your pronation, let's reverse. Pull up. We spiral the forearms, the palms face inwards, and then we push that thick air down. We pronate, reaching for more each time, and bring it up. Spiral, palms face in, supination, and push that thick air down. One more, pronate, reverse bicep curl, supinate, and push that thick air down. Nice, shake it out. All right, we're gonna look at the wrists now. And I like to use my left hand to cup around my arm, my forearm. And this is just going to help block the forearm from moving. So our job is to really try to keep that forearm still in space. And you're really trying to not do funny things with the fingers. That palm is trying to stay as straight as it possibly can. You'll take that deep breath in, exhale, irradiate, and you'll drive that pinky inwards, and then you'll start to extend, pulling down. You'll go out, and then you'll pull up as best as you can, really squeezing out as much as you can. That pinky will come in, the palm goes flat. We pull down into wrist extension. We go out, and then we pull up into as much wrist flexion as we can. One more in this direction. Really trying to keep that forearm from moving around. And once you flatten the palm, pause. Let's reverse. We'll come up into flexion. We'll go out. We'll go down. Pinky comes in. And takes a lot of mental control with the wrists to not do weird things with the hand and the fingers. One more time. Around, pull down, and bring it back home. Whew, all right. We're going to do the left now. Again, you can cup that forearm to keep that forearm nice and still. I like to spread the fingers. And now let's take that deep breath in. Exhale, irradiate, and then let's pull the pinky in. We're going to extend down. We're going to go out as best as we can and pull up. And I definitely have less range on my left side. So I'm just doing the best that I can with not introducing too many compensations. We've got one more in this direction. And pause. Let's go up, spiral out, wrist extension, in, as much flexion as you can give me, out, trying to not do any weird things with those fingers. I know mine certainly do. One more, especially on this side, and find your start position. Good job. Okay, so we're going to move into spinal full segmentation. So we're going from tail to head, and we're going to go one vertebrae at a time. So we'll do this on all fours, hands and knees. And so we're really looking for the knees to be in line with the hips and the wrists to be in line with the shoulders. And I like to curl my toes under just to feel a little push into the ground. Now you're trying to not let the elbows bend, so keep those arms as best locked as you can. And you're going to find your comfortable spine. Imagine that it's straight like a table or flat like a table. And you'll take that deep breath in. Exhale, irradiate, and from that tailbone, you're going to drive it under between your legs. Your lower back is going to start to round. You're going to travel up your lower thoracic. You're going to travel up to your mid-thoracic. Travel up to your upper thoracic. And then your cervical spine will pull under. And now you're going to lift the tail to the sky. You're going to extend your lower back. Start to extend your lower thoracic, your middle thoracic, your upper thoracic, and then the cervical spine. Again, tuck the tail between your legs, rounding the lower back, finding the lower thoracic, the middle thoracic, the upper thoracic, and the cervical spine last. And spread the sit bones, tail goes to the sky, lumbar, lower thoracic, middle thoracic, upper thoracic. Find full spinal extension and then return to a straight, flat back. Beautiful. The next thing we're going to look at is our pelvis cars. And from your belly button, you're going to draw a circle completely around, and everything above that circle is going to stay still. We find all fours again, and I want you to think from the outside of your pelvis on your right side,
is going to hike up towards your rib cage. And I want you just to return back to the start. Let's practice on the left. The left is going to hike up to the left rib cage, and then it's going to return back. And we're just practicing parts of the pelvis car because this one can get a little mind-boggling for people. They get a little lost in space. And then pause. And now I want you to tuck the tail under, round a little that lower back, posterior tilt, and then you're going to stick the tail up to the sky, anterior tilt. And you can see everything above my belly button and my thoracic, I'm not moving. Give me one more anterior tilt, and then find that neutral, that flat back. And now this is your pelvis car. The right pelvis goes up to the right rib cage. You tuck under, you travel to the left side. The left side hikes up. And then you spread the butt cheeks. The tail goes up to the sky. You travel over to the right. And then you're doing these small little mini pelvis circles. I like to imagine that I'm drawing a circle with my tailbone. Let's do one more. The right goes up to the right rib cage. You tuck under, you travel to the left hikes up. You lift the tail, you travel all the way and find center. Find a flat back. Let's reverse. Left goes up to the left rib cage. You tuck under, you travel all the way over to the right. The right hikes up. You lift the tail, you travel all the way over to the left. The left pelvis hikes. You tuck under, you travel all the way to the right hikes up. The tailbone lifts to the sky, you travel over to the left for one more, keeping everything above that belly button, above that thoracic still, and then find a neutral flat back. Excellent, great job. So if I didn't mention at the start of the video, go ahead and grab a yoga block or a pillow, something that you can put underneath your head for our hip car. Okay, so come and find a side lying position on your mat. And you really want to make sure that from tail to head, you're in one long line. And you've just got that yoga block or pillow underneath you. And your bottom knee is going to be bent, but just pull it back in space a little because you need room to move with that top leg. So for your hip car, we're going to go nice and slow for the first one because we often see quite a lot of compensations here. So think about having a small little space underneath your waist. And this is a really nice way to feel if you drop down, and then you know that you're compensating in that pelvis. So you're trying to keep your pelvis still, you're trying to keep your ribs and spine still, and you're only moving this femur, this thigh bone, inside your acetabulum, so inside your socket. So you're going to bring your top foot to the corner of your mat, and the knee is going to be pointing up to the ceiling. And what you're going to do is, I like to place my top hand on top of my pelvis here, and this is another guide to see if I'm hiking in that pelvis. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to slide with control that foot as high as you can go. And you're really trying to activate everything at that hip flexor. And then when you can't go anymore, you're going to pull this knee in towards your chest. And then you're going to open that knee up to the ceiling as far as you can go without rolling back. So really keep everything still. Now this thigh bone is going to rotate inwards. You're trying to get that foot higher than the knee. You keep finding a rotation. You'll circle back into hip extension. And then you'll find knee to knee, but that foot is still higher than the knee. And now you'll extend back, make sure it's not from your lower back. And that knee is going to come up to the ceiling and it's going to pull towards your shoulder. And now that thigh bone is going to spiral around and you're going to get that foot down. And then you're going to slide that leg away. All right, here we go. We have external rotation of the thigh bone and we start to hip flex. We continue that hip flexion. We open, abduction. We start to internally rotate and really think about that rotation. That foot goes higher than the knee, you find extension, and then you bring knee to knee. You extend back, you take the knee up to the ceiling, and then you're going to spiral that thigh bone, and you're going to slide that leg away. One more time, nice and controlled. We pull in, pull up, open, spiral, extend, knee to knee. We kick back from that hip, not from the lower back. Knee comes up, and then spiral that thigh and slide away. Let's look at the left side.
So again, just acknowledge that you might have different sides. We want to avoid any major clicking and pain, so just find a position and range that works for you. I definitely have less range on my left side. So have that top foot pointing to the corner of the mat. Have that little space underneath your waist. And bring the hand on top of your pelvis for guidance. Let's slide that foot along the mat, trying to find external rotation and hip flexion as best as you can. When you can't anymore, you're going to pull that knee in towards your chest. Abduct, taking that knee up to the ceiling as best as you can. And now internally rotate. Try to get that foot higher than the knee as you circle behind and have a slight extension and then bring knee to knee. You'll extend back. You'll take the knee up to the ceiling. You'll pull in towards your chest and then you'll have that thigh bone spiral. See if you can get that pinky down. And then slide away. Again, pull in. Keep irradiating in your body. And spiral out. And back. Keeping that internal rotation the focus. Extend back. Knee goes up to the ceiling. Really pull in. And then spiral that thigh, hitting the floor with control and take it back down. One last time. Pull in and up, open,
internally rotate, keep spiraling as you circle back behind, making sure you're not dropping in that waist. Extend back, knee up to the ceiling, and then find that last external rotation and slide away. Great job. Okay, so we're going to move on to the knees. And we're trying to now keep the thigh bone still in space. And we're really working this shin bone, this tibia bone, and we want it to rotate. Okay? That ankle is not dictating the movement, but it will go along for the ride. So really feel the shin bone pulling out and pulling in. Okay? So take your right arm underneath your right knee and right hand onto your left arm. And then I like to put my left hand just on top of my kneecap. And so now I'm locked in space and I'm really trying to keep that nice and still. You'll take a deep breath in and now you'll try to spiral that shin bone out as much as you can. And then you're going to extend just a little past your knee. And now you're going to spiral the shin bone inwards, and then you're going to pull down heel to bum. That shin bone will spiral out. This is external rotation. And you'll extend. You'll spiral that shin bone inwards, internal rotation, and you'll pull back down. Sometimes I find moving from the heel, like if you think the heel rotates, it helps that tibia, that shin bone as well. And then internally rotate and pull it down. Now keep your internal rotation. Let's extend up. And we externally rotate. Fight for more as you pull down. Internally rotate. Extend. Externally rotate and pull down. One last time for me. And internally rotate. Extend. Externally rotate. Pull down and relax. Good. Let's have a look at the left side. So left arm goes underneath your knee, holds onto your right arm, and your right hand is just resting on top of your kneecap. This leg, I don't care what you do with it. Just if you need to get it out of the way, do. If you want to let the knee roll out, that's fine. So just find a position that feels comfortable. Again, feel that shin bone, that tibia. That's what you're going to be working. Take a deep breath in, irradiate, and then externally rotate, fight for more, and then extend up. Internally rotate, squeeze out as much as you can, and pull down. Externally rotate and kick up. From that heel, you can use that as a cue to target that tibia a little more rather than the toes. One last time, find your external, find that extension, rotate inwards for internal, and now keep your internal rotation. We reverse. Go up, extend, external rotation out, pull down. And internally rotate, extend, externally rotate, pull down. One last time for me. And nice and controlled. And down you go. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to move on to ankles, and I like to get in the same position as with the knee, and this time we're looking for no movement of the tibia and thigh, so we're really working this ankle bone. Often we do see some things going on with the toes, and that's okay for now, but you're really trying to work from that ankle bone. Okay, you take that deep breath in, and you're going to press the ankle and foot down like you're gas pedaling it down. And then you're going to rotate inwards like you're really trying to show the sole of the foot inside. And then you're going to pull up that midfoot to your shin. And then you're going to rotate out like you're trying to show the sole of the foot to the side of the room. And you're going to do that 2 more times in this direction. Often the ankle has a lot of twitchiness and it likes to speed up or drop. So you're really trying to focus that ankle and move with control. One last time. This is inversion, dorsiflexion, eversion, and plantar flexion, and pause. Let's reverse. We evert, really trying to show the outside foot to the outside, pull up, show the sole of the foot inwards and down. 2 more. We evert, we dorsiflex, we invert, and we go down. Last time. That's it. And release. Good job. Let's switch to the other side, same position. Keeping that tibia still, thigh bone still. And we plantar flex, gas pedal it down. And we're going to scoop and pull inwards. We go up into dorsi. And then we scoop outwards. And we invert. We dorsiflex, we evert, and we plantar down. 1 more, really trying to make the greatest circle you possibly can with that ankle. And let's reverse. We go out, we pull up, we really try to scoop inwards, and we go down, around, and up, in, and down. 1 last time, nice and controlled, really moving through that thick, dense air that we spoke about at the start of the session, and release down. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at are our toes. And I'm a bad example because I don't practice my toe cars enough. But I find this is one that you just have to practice daily, else it goes quite quickly. So we're going to keep all of our toes down except for our big toe. So you're going to lift that big toe as much as you can right up to the ceiling, and then you're going to lower back down. You're going to lift up, up, up as high as you can, and then lower the big toe down. Let's do that 1 more time, lifting those big toes and then lowering back down. Now you're going to keep the big toes down and you're trying to lift the rest of the toes. And you're trying to do that without rolling inwards. Okay? Take that deep breath in. You radiate and lift those toes and then lower back down. Lift, lift up and lower back down. One more, lift up and then lower back down. Now I want you to lift everything up and you're trying to just drop the big toes and up. Big toes and up. Big toes and up, and then lower all the way down. And that is your full set of controlled articular rotations. There is a patella car that I did not do today. I will have a separate video for that one because it takes a little bit more concentration and practice. So do your cars daily, maintain your joint health and your range of motion, and get strong while doing it. Thanks guys, and hope to see you soon.